it's gonna be, there's nothing technical today. We'll just discuss what is DevOps, whatever questions you have, you can fire, and hopefully I'll answer all those questions. So before I begin, let me first mute everyone. So I want one thing to be clear in everyone's mind, that we don't focus much on the definition of DevOps. There are plenty of tools that are in the DevOps uh, life cycle. There were different tools when I started doing it. Now the things are changing. Actually, the things in DevOps regularly change, so tools also change. But the tool that replaces the other tool will be similar to that. So once you have expertise in tool, let's say configuration management tool like Puppet, then unlearning Chef will be very easy for you, and Ansible will be much more easier. So the tools that are coming in are much more easier than the previous tool, not complex. Your main objective, keep your objective in your mind, that your objective is to deliver the software and its features quickly and efficiently. Keep that in your mind all the time. For this objective, we choose different tools, we choose different cloud platforms. Okay, but our objective is same. When I'm talking about software and its features delivery, that means any kind of code that is written by the developers, or even a tester's test automation script, or DB developers DB queries, anything at a code level has to be delivered to the server. Before it goes to the server, there are so many processes that happens, right? When in a core steel plant, when you put the raw steel or raw iron, there are so many processes that happens which makes it a stainless steel, then it comes out, or any kind of steel that comes out. Before that, there'll be so many processes. What we see in the production, the user gets the iron or the steel, but before the raw material, after the raw material is put into the furnace, there's so many processes that happens. So similarly, whenever a developer writes a code, it's a raw code. Before it comes to the users as a feature, there's so many process that happens on that. And you would be an expert in automating all that process. Okay, and that process takes a very long time. So you automate that process and you make sure, the delivery is quick. And if there is no human intervention, it will be also efficient. Okay, so we give constant delivery to the business. We are not some admin or some support team that will keep things up and running. We are the person who give constant delivery to the business. We churn the money, okay, faster, right? So keep this object in your mind. So there are so many things that happens. I'll come to this one later. But in the demo, I have discussed about DevOps lifecycle, and I told you this is the main area where you focus on. Okay, actually, this is the whole thing, right, as a whole. So there is, I can say that the DevOps lifecycle can be divided into two major parts. One is continuous integration, where you take the code from the developers, you build it, you test it, you version it, and then you put it into a software repository. Okay, that's one process. Once the software is ready, then delivering it to different servers and making changes in the server and infrastructure. That's a delivery part. Okay, where we talked about more about operations work, system admin work, cloud computing work. So you have to learn that work, and then you have to automate that process. So the first part is building the code. So let me discuss as a normal software delivery in a very brief. So when the developer writes a code, they're going to put it into some place, some centralized place, all the developers. You'll have a machine which you can call it as build server, okay, or a computer. Okay, that computer is going to take that code and build it. Build is a process where you take the raw code it's a compiled language like Java, .NET, and all. You compile it, test it, and archive it. Okay, when you compile it, it creates a lot of files, class files. The raw code cannot be executed on the system. It has to be compiled. Compilation will generate class files. Those class files have to be archived together. Okay, that archive .exe, .msi, .rpm, .deb, .var, .er, .jar. Okay, these are called as artifacts. In normal language, you can call them as just software. Okay, so it will build, and among that build, there's so many build that pass, that fail, some are not optimum. So among all that build, it tries to build multiple times and selects one build which is the good one, okay, which gives the better test results. And that build will be pushed to a staging server, staging environment. Okay, it will be also tested in developer environment. I'm talking about environment. I'll explain you what is environment in next slides. Environment will be infrastructure, group of server. Okay, let's be talking about staging environment. So let's say there are one web server, one database server, and some storage and some load balancer like that. So this consists this completes one environment before a software is delivered to a production environment where you're actually using it. Users are actually using it. Let's say Amazon, the e-commerce site, production server. Before you see any feature in that, before that feature was put there, it was put into staging, testing, development, so many different environment, and it is tested very well. Then it comes to production system. So again, let's reiterate. You build the code from the developer. Developer will test it in the local machine. Out of that, one build will be selected, and that build will be sent to staging environment. There could be multiple staging environment also, and it will be tested here from a user point of view, smoke test and different kinds of tests. And once it tests out, checks out fine that okay, this is good in performance, this is good in handling load and all of it, then only it will be going to the production system. So out of so many build, one will be selected. This process is in very brief, okay, but there are so many tools and technologies involved here. So this process can be manual, human being doing it, logging into different computers, generating builds, testing it manually, and all those things, or it can be automated. So automation is our work. So this is a normal software delivery process. Now let's talk about environment. So when you get into any project, you may have such kind of diagrams given to you by the architects. This is a diagram, is an architecture diagram of our project, and we have named it as V profile. Okay, V profile is a social networking platform written by our developer and specifically written for this course actually, so I can train you on DevOps. So this is the architecture of that project. It's written in Java. The vProfile code is written in Java. You get the code, you get the source code. You will take that source code, build it, choose anyone, and then deliver it to different environment. Okay, and whole thing you're gonna learn in this course. So this is a highly available architecture. You have multiple services working together, and for user, you will just see probably a website. That's all. When you go to facebook.com, you just see on your browser, you see a page. But to get that experience on your computer, there are so many services running in the Facebook infrastructure, Facebook data center. So many services working together to give you that experience. Okay, so such kind of architecture is of vProfile also. Here we have in the public network, in the public area. That means on the internet, user access by using different browsers or Android phones or iPhone, and they say www.vprofile.com, something like that. We have a URL. It goes to the load balancer. Okay, then load balancer is going to redirect it to any one of the web server. Okay, this is called as web tier. Okay, and there is a service called as Nginx. Nginx is a very popular front-end service. It acts as a load balancer also. So Nginx, any one of the Nginx will receive the request. Nginx web server will present you a first login page. So you will enter your username and password. Then when you hit enter, it will go to the Tomcat server. Okay, Tomcat is an application server. Now it lands up in the app tier. Okay, here where your actual application lives, what we're talking about here, building and putting it to different environment, the main code goes into the application server, the developer's main code. Okay, that's where you see the entire application. So Tomcat will process all that request, and you have entered username and password, that kind of detail. Those information will be stored into the database. You see here MySQL database and MongoDB database. Okay, that's a DB tier. Okay, so all the dynamic data that is coming in the website, going out of the website, is going in and out from MySQL or MongoDB database. And that will not have a direct access from Tomcat. There'll be so many backend services that makes the user experience better, which I'll explain to you. And you'll see all these instances are actually twins, you know, and then we have two Nginx, two Tomcat, and I'll explain you this concept. This is high availability, redundancy, and scalability. We'll learn that in load balancer tutorial. Okay, so this is the complete architecture. So when you want to set up the profile architecture, the profile web application, you need to set up all these services. Okay, all these services, RabbitMQ, Memcache, Elasticsearch. I'll explain you all this. We have a very good session for to explain you all this and also implement it. Okay, so this is an environment. Now this entire environment can be deployed in one computer also. It can be distributed in multiple computers also. Okay, when we talk about production and also staging, we are going to deploy it in multiple computers, multiple VMs or multiple cloud instances. Okay, each running one single service. But when you talk about development environment, it could be everything in one or just one or two machines. All right. So delivering will be on these environments. Probably you're delivering SQL schema, you're delivering application code, you're delivering some changes in the front end page. Whatever change the developer or the DB guys, anyone writes, you have to deliver that into this environment. Okay. And in production, there would be not only just two, there could be 20 Nginx or 20 Tomcat. Depends on the size of the application. Okay, this is the project infrastructure that we'll use, and we'll come back to this again. Okay, give me a moment.